South running equal last with the Titans. Is that as bad as it looks?
I think it is. I watched that game on the weekend against Manly, and yeah, they're missing Cody, they're missing Latrell, Cam Murray's not there. There's other players, I think there's 7 or 8 out at the moment. But for mine, it shows you where this current South Sydney roster is and the depth of the club. And when you peel back the layers of what's happened in recent years, for mine, and Souths have denied it till they're blue in the face, but I keep going back to the moment they didn't offer Adam Reynolds a 2-year deal. It's kind of like when the seams fell apart at this joint, because in the years since, they've gone on and offered Cody multiple contracts, and another year next year they bought Jack White, and Jack, I think, was over 30 years of age, and they offered him a 4-year deal. It just seems like since then they've made mistake upon mistake when it comes to their roster, and I think they're paying the price now.
Do you see it the same way?
I don't. I'm sorry, Qualls. I'll have to disagree with this one. I was as critical as anyone about Adam Reynolds not getting a 2-year deal at that club. I thought it was madness for them to let him go. But you have to honestly say that this season you've got to ping it on their injury toll. Like it's been an incredibly, it's hard to think of a club that's had a year with injuries like it. I understand what you're talking about around the halves. That's something they've got to deal with. Yeah. But Adam, you can't pin it on Adam Reynolds and the Lewis Dodd situation. That's part of it. But you take out Cameron Murray, Cody Walker's played 8 games, Latrell's played 10. You know what I reckon it is? I reckon they've been beaten. They've got through on heart for so much of this season. I think the loss to the Melbourne Storm just broke them.
Yeah. The fact that Cody...
the floodgates have opened in the last 2 weeks.
The fact that Cody is continually going off injured, and there's no depth below him. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
they've got players there. Latrell, as a fullback, right? Latrell can really do some damage when he gets up the good end of the field.
Yes.
But from the back of the field, some of his runs, there's no impact. There's no lightning speed. Even on top of that, when you look at their wings, they haven't got the strong carries. If Latrell can't do that out of the back end of the field, they haven't got the other players. To me, the roster's out of shape. And you talk about the Lewis Dodd thing, again, it's a $750,000 mistake. Yeah. Across the board, they have made mistake upon mistake where other clubs have left them for dead.
I said it, I think it was last week. There's been some poor decisions in roster management, and that's why they are where they are. I mean, injuries, yes, and I said again, the majority of the year I could understand where they were because they had significant injuries in key positions. But then you look at last weekend, Webby, conceding 50 points. They had Kalama Matangi, White and Latrell, Cody, Humphreys, Johnston, Arrow. They had a full squad against. They had a full team. That's a much better team
against the Dolphins.
Look at the West Tigers. They're copping bullets left, right, and centre.
Sure.
Look at their squad compared to that South squad. I think you can get a bit. I don't know, because they've been talking about their injuries all year, and we're going good considering the injuries, and then everyone sort of falls into that, and they have got the best coach on the planet. Yeah,
and it's not just they've hardly settled on a team.
And you are right. That's been a big factor. The injuries.
A lot of that is too because of recruitment.
Right. Well, their injuries aren't because of recruitment.
Well, Lewis Dodd's a halfback on $750,000. If they bought the right halfback or made better decisions, they wouldn't be in a hole that they're in. Humphreys, they said they were really happy with the start of the year, but now he's
flatlined though, hasn't he? Like a young bloke that's come in to NRL level and played up above himself for many weeks, and in recent weeks he struggled a bit. And again, that goes back to the depth of the club because he probably wasn't brought in to do that job. Dodd was.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing because they have had a torrid injury toll, but to become an equal last with the best coach in the world, with the players they had on the weekend, I don't know. I don't think it's acceptable. I think any other team would be copping bullets left, right, and centre if they were in the same boat.
Well, and in fairness to by the sounds of it,
it's taking how long?
I know.
Fairness to the players that are out there too. Like if you go back and take away maybe the last 2 weeks, although they tried pretty hard on the weekend too against Manly, but the rosters there was just this difference in class. But the week before that was disappointing. The 4 weeks prior to that, they tried their hearts out against 4 of the best teams in the comp. No question, the players out there are giving their absolute all.
So what changes next year then?
Well, Braith, there's got to be changes.
And what's changed from last year?
What the first thing that has to change next year, there has to be a resolution on Dodd. Now, I know the club has come out and said that there's no way they're going to push him out, and he has got a 3-year deal, but it's just an ongoing problem until it's resolved because he's not playing first grade there. It's 750 of the cap. They've had some terrible luck, but that's one burden that they have to swallow.
Call me mad. When Gray was back at fullback, looked like that the side had a bit more energy.
He's been injured too, unfortunately.
And then maybe Latrell going to the centres, like we watched that Manly with Tommy.
That's not
You know,
going
I think it has to be
not gonna happen.
considered.
I wouldn't think it's going to happen.
I think it has to be considered at some stage
Yeah.
because you can see the player Latrell is. He's an absolute weapon when you get up to that other end of the field. And against the Warriors a few weeks ago, he nearly won the game in 20 minutes.
He's a freak.
But the energy that he brings out of the back of the field, it brings them down. Look at KO Weeks on the weekend, what he does for Canberra, what Hammer did when he played Souths for the Dolphins. The Souths don't have that. They don't have that energy coming out of the back of the field. Jai Gray, if he's not the fullback, I'd at least give him a go in the halves. That's where he played his junior
When Latrell
footy.
used to turn her on, and he still does, but when he used to turn her on, they just win. There was no other result. But now when he does turn it on and plays great, which he has been, given the circumstances, they're still struggling, you know. It's a bit of a battle for them. And Cody doesn't help being out of the team for the majority of the year as well. So what would you do with Latrell?
I'd play him in the centres. Like, I do think he's a Ferrari, and you don't need to put that many miles on the on the clock. I think he can have an impact. I watch him at State of Origin. It is the hardest game to play. Toto scored all those tries because he's outside of Latrell. I think he can have an impact with any number he puts on his back, but I wouldn't put him at fullback.
It also both shows you where they're at too, the fact that they are now offering Cody another year.
Yeah.
Because he's got the class to him that the players around him haven't got. So it's the club's in a position where they do have to offer him a next year.
Yeah.
But does that mean that they've got the roster right? No, it means they've got it
Do
right.
they still have a lot of juniors, South Sydney?
They've got some
Wasn't
good
it-
kids
They
coming
do,
through, I
but in terms
understand,
of
but
what
they're a
they're
few
being
years
sold
away.
It's not like it used to be.
The catchment's getting smaller. Yeah,
not how it
just
used
because
to
of the changing area, really.
Anyway, we could go all night, but even their forwards go on. Like, they probably need a couple of forwards, right?
That's
But
right.
there's no, who are they going to buy? It's sort of like you're looking at what positions they need most, but who is on the market and who's available. And
I think Gordon raises a good point too, though, about the juniors and that, because look at the Rooster system that they've set up in other successful clubs. If you don't have the kids, you've got to find the kids.
Yeah.
You've got to bring them in and get them up to speed.
Yeah.